Okay guys, this is Rick the Dungeoneer back with you for another video. Today we're going to be going over spells. So I neglected the entire spell area on my last video because one, I didn't want it to be an hour long, and two, because my character didn't have any. So today we are making a wizard. He's going to be level 1, and I've taken the liberty of filling out a couple things. So my wizard, we'll call him Jonas. Just give him some flavor. So Jonas here. The only thing that's important for this particular time is that he has a 16 intelligence, giving him a 3 intelligence modifier. So when we come back down here, starting at the top, wizard is going to be his class. Of course, each spellcaster is going to be different based on their different spellcasting abilities. Wizard is usually the most common, other than maybe cleric, and usually they all work similarly. They all have their own different mechanics, but we're going to do wizard today because it's the most popular. So his spellcasting ability is going to be 3 because of his intelligence. Now your spell save DC is always done starting at 8 plus your proficiency and then plus your intelligence modifier. I didn't add mod in there just because it wouldn't all fit in there. So, and your spell attack is just your proficiency and your intel modifier. So if you go to roll an attack against somebody with, let's say, a firebolt, you would add your spell attack bonus. But if they need to try and move out of whatever you're doing, let's say, for example, you are throwing some fire on the ground with a fireball, they need to make a dexterity save against your spell save DC. So whenever somebody is reacting to what you do, they use the spell save. Whenever you are trying to hit them with an attack that is a spell, it's the spell attack bonus. So, moving down to this giant box-filled page, we're going to start off by talking about spell levels. In Dungeons & Dragons, there are 9 different spell levels. Spell levels range from 0 all the way up to 9. 0 being what is called a cantrip right here. You can cast cantrips as much as you want all day long. You can cast them as many times as you can, no problem. They are unlimited. Now, of course, everything scales in power, so your cantrips are going to be your weakest of your spells. Down from that is first level spells. This is a level 1 wizard, so he has currently 6 spells known. Now, the way it works is that every class has a certain number of spells that they know and a certain number of spells that they have prepared. So when you show up on a wizard, so we'll see at the very top here, so this is how many spell slots you have. So a level 1 wizard will have 2 first level spell slots and no 3 cantrips. So when we go back on our sheet here, I can cast 2 of these spells in a day. That's why we have 2 here. So if I were to charm somebody, I would expend a spell slot for that. And if I were to cast Mage Armor to make myself harder to hit, that would expend my slots for the day. Until you take a long rest, you will not have any more spell slots other than using certain abilities like, for example, wizards get Arcane Recovery, which at level 1 is right down here. So when you take a short rest, you can regain a spell slot up to half of your level. So the example it gives is if you're a 4th level wizard, you can recover 2 levels. So that means you could get a 2nd level slot or 2 first level slots. Now, for spells known, you prepare a list of wizard spells that are available for you to cast. To do so, choose a number of wizard spells from your spellbook equal to your intelligence modifier plus your wizard level. So our intelligence modifier is 3, plus our wizard level is 1. So these are the amount that you have prepared for the day. So when you look on here, I have 4 check-marked little spots in the prepared area. So today I can cast Mage Armor, Chromatic Orb, Charm Person, and Burning Hands. Now, that being said, there are different kinds of spells in Dungeons & Dragons. So when you look on this page here, these are all the different spells a wizard can cast. You see that each one of them has different modifiers, different durations, different everything. So a good example is something like Earth Tremor. It's a first level spell, so it would use a spell slot. It works 10 feet, and it causes one of those saves I was talking about. See, they have either attack or save. There are different advantages to using either. If you know something is going to be very difficult to save, but it's very difficult to hit, but it's very slow, maybe giving it something like this dexterity save would be very good. If something's very quick and you know it doesn't have very much armor to it, maybe an attack might be in order. Using these to your advantage is a good way of maximizing your damage. So when I open up this spell, Earth Tremor, we see that it's first level. Instantaneous means that when you cast this spell, it takes effect immediately. There are certain spells that take longer to cast than others. So casting time is 1 action. So every round you have 1 action, 1 bonus action, 1 reaction, and 1 free action. It sounds like a lot to unpack, but most classes don't use everything. And if they do, it's kind of a rhythm you get into. So casting time of 1 action is 6 seconds. So the game works in 6-second duration rounds. Once everybody goes, the next round starts. So everything works 10 rounds per minute. So the school doesn't have a lot to do with the combat itself, but wizards, for example, can gain extra spells in their book by copying them down, and certain magic schools that you specialize in let you do it for cheaper, copy them into your book cheaper than you would a regular spell. So the school there's different things that modify it, but as far as like the actual game goes, it doesn't change a lot of things. So the area is going to be 10 feet. Components. Now there are 3 different components to look at when you're casting a spell. There's verbal, which stands for V, which means that you need to speak the words out loud. You may not think it's a big deal, but if you're trying to cast something like, I don't know, Charm Person, for example. So when we look up Charm Person in here, so when I put in Charm Person, it's a wisdom save, and it's verbal and somatic, which means if your character is in the middle of a dinner party and you want to charm the count to see if he really did steal all those weapons from the blacksmith, everybody is going to be looking at you because you're speaking arcane words out loud, staring him down. Now, in our society, we would obviously know this is something wrong, and in theirs, they definitely would because they have magic. So it's all about knowing what each one of these means to use to your advantage, because somatic means that you have to move your hands. So anybody who wouldn't know magic in that world may think you're trying to assassinate him or trying to harm him in some way. So it's all about figuring out when to use something and what you need to do to use it. Somatic also is important. Let's say, for example, if you have a sword and shield in your hands, without the use of certain feats, you may not be able to move your hands in such a way to cast that. If your hands are busy, you cannot cast somatic spells. The last of which is material. Material means that there is something that is required when you cast it. Now, let's say, for example, I believe Alarm has a material component to it. So you see down here, it has a tiny bell and a piece of fine silver wire is required to cast Alarm. Now, unless it says it is consumed in the process, that means that you do not have to worry about it. If you have a tiny bell and a small line of silver wire, you can cast this anytime you want as long as you have the spell slots, or in this one's case, you can see up here there's a little book with an R in it, and that means it's a ritual. Any spell that you have as a ritual, like our character has Find Familiar, when we look up Find Familiar, we will see it is also a ritual. So the casting time as a ritual is 1 hour. So when you cast this, you make a bat, cat, crab, frog, hawk, lizard, octopus, all sorts of different things. Now, we see that there's also a little asterisk under material. This is an example of something right here. 10 gold worth of charcoal, incense, and herbs that must be consumed by a fire with a brass brazier. So when we cast Find Familiar, to create this arcane being that looks like one of these animals will cost us 10 gold pieces worth of materials. Your DM may just say, yep, you bought the materials and you summon the familiar. Other ones, maybe these are rare items. Maybe charcoal's hard to come by. Maybe incense is hard to come by. You need to talk with your DM to make sure that you can procure these items before you just go casting. So lastly, for the wizard, as you level up, you're going to get more spells. So a wizard gains 2 spells every level. Those spell slots, or not spell slots, sorry. Those spells that you know do not have to be any particular level as long as you can cast it. So if you gain, let's say for example, our wizard is now level 10. That means that he has 9 times 2 more extra spells known. So he knows 18 more spells. If I wanted to make them all first level, I can. If I wanted to keep redistributing them to have the most max level spells at the time that I can cast, that's great. All you need to do is just leverage it by how many spells you're going to have. Because when you start looking at your wizard, if he got to level 10 like we were talking about, he would know 4 first level, 3 second level, 3 third level, 3 fourth level, and 2 fifth level spells. Which means, do I really want all these spells to be first level? Or do I want to start kind of diversifying and getting a little more? I know that I can cast 4 first level spells, but by the time I'm level 10, 5th level spells can do quite a bit. I mean, you're talking the difference between, for example, a first level spell. Sorry, I'm trying to find one that does damage just so I don't... It's easy to pick something that doesn't do damage because then it doesn't look like it's that much different. Like Burning Hands, for example, is a dex save, and it's a 15-foot cone, has to make a dexterity saving throw, and a creature takes 3d6 fire damage on a failed save. Which means if they roll lower than your spell save DC, they take 3d6 fire damage. Now, to make this a little faster, I'm going to go like this. When we look at a 5th level spell, something like Cone of Cold, the creature takes 8d8 cold damage. So 3d6 compared to 8d8 is going to be one heck of a power difference. And this is a 60-foot cone. So that means that in a square map, this could hit, I don't know, let's see, be a lot. Apparently my math skills are pretty bad, but it would be a lot of spells. Squares.